there's only two diets. One is for performance and one is for fat loss. The diet for performance, if you're thinking about an athlete, this is someone who's going to have to eat probably a lot of calories, probably a lot of protein, probably a lot of carbs so that they can sustain their physical activity. I too am on a diet for performance. Only my performance is to have my intestines running properly and not having them come out my butthole. So we have a diet for performance that is going to give us our health, so an anti-inflammatory diet, or is going to enhance our athletic capability. Then the second diet is a diet for fat loss, which means that we are in a calorie deficit because we want to lose fat. So there's only two types of diets. And then within that, people have found ways that it works for them based on their culture, based on their blood type, based on like all of these things that just make us unique individuals. Welcome to Queen Bold EQ podcast, where I share with you the mindset, energetics, emotional intelligence, and habits required to transform your health and manifest your dream body. I'm your host, Lauren Saracione, a 20-plus year fitness professional, lifelong entrepreneur, and I have self-healed my chronic pain and my emotional eating. And I am here to share with you the spiritual and the practical so you can transform your health and manifest your dream body. Yay! Okay. Welcome everyone to the 9th episode of a Body Energetics production of Queen Bold EQ podcast. I'm your host, Lauren Saracione. I've been in fitness for over 20 years, and this podcast is all about you having a bold attitude going into the energetics in your body, those mental and emotional states that are sabotaging your best efforts to reclaim your health and transform yourself into your manifested dream body. So I have a couple of announcements before we get started. I'm really excited about this. Part of this podcast is for fempreneurs. So for the female entrepreneur, the female business owner, because what I noticed through all of this inner work that I did, especially with Dr. John Sarno's work, is that my low grade vibrations, my low self-esteem, my acts of self-betrayal, my reasons for feeling not enough, and then the behavior that I did to make myself feel like I was enough, and then the sabotage that I did when I was afraid if I was being too much, all went into my work, all made validation and changed my mood and changed everything about me, kind of like how we do with food, but I would do it with the business also. And how that resulted in chronic pain and migraines and chronic tension and all this dis-ease in my physical body. And so I'm bringing to the conversation about what it's like to be a fempreneur who maybe if you're like me and you've had some not so hot mental and emotional programming from your 0 to 7, how that might have been impacting your business. And so I have been on the lookout for my fempreneur friends when they make these posts where they talk very, very boldly about the mental and emotional energetic blocks that they have recently worked through or the blocks that they have moved through to have the success that they have. So when I see a post like that, I send it to them. And I messaged them and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so amazing. Would you be willing to riff on about this on my podcast? So the women that we have scheduled so far is Catherine Townsend. You can look her up on Instagram. I am Catherine Townsend. And then also M. Haas. You can look her up. M. Haas, Emmhaas, I think is how you spell her name. It's very unique and very wonderful. So those two ladies are on upcoming episodes. I think Catherine's going to air on January 24th. We'll be live here on Facebook. And then M, I believe, is sometime in February. Or maybe I have it the other way around. We got a January date and a February date, and I have a couple of ladies who have the link who have not quite scheduled yet, so I won't reveal their names, but I am so excited for you to hear from them how they moved through these mental and emotional states. Because we have a lot of talk right now about alignment I like to say coherency because as a fitness professional and my certification with Brain and Heart with Heart Math Institute about brain and heart coherent breathing, this is about coherency. Our thoughts, our feelings, and our actions must all be aligned for us to be the co-creative creators, form God in form on this 3D plane, creating whatever it is that we want. And so we're going to hear from different perspectives and different language of how to get into that alignment, the mental, emotional, and physical alignment. I'm not sure how spiritual everybody is at like what will be tapping in with their spiritual consciousness. But I'm just so excited to bring these ladies to you for this conversation. So this is for Queen Bold EQ. This is our very first 3D habit, real world, the physical manifested world conversation. We are talking about conscious eating. And so I have 4 things that I want to share with you today. And this is all stuff that has been with me through the years of having that initial breakdown in 2010 where binge eating stopped working, where I was trying to eat my binge food and I was crying so hard that I couldn't eat it. I couldn't swallow it and I spit it out. And I was like, oh no, like if I'm this upset that food isn't going to make me feel better, what am I going to do now? So all the way from back then to then learning about the yo-yo dieting and where I was sabotaging my result because of a mental and emotional state. And then cut to 2020 where my digestive system completely tanked, which if you're into Gene Keys, I am a solar plexus authority, and the solar plexus is being activated like big time in the new eon that we're entering into as a civilization, as Earth's experience. And so it's really not surprising to me that my digestive system has changed so much, being ruled by the solar plexus. So basically, like where I'm at now is I eat anti-inflammatory foods based on constitutional acupuncture. I am a hepatonia type. There's 8 types to this Korean acupuncture system. It sounds totally crazy. I don't eat greens. I don't eat my favorite fruits. I don't eat berries. I don't eat wine. I don't have chocolate. When I do have those foods, I get hemorrhoids. I get severe inflammation in my intestines. You can actually hear them. It sounds like snot. It feels terrible. And if you can think about the shape of your intestines, it feels like a vice starts to clench around my whole torso. It's just not good. And so I really stay away from the foods that inflame my system so that I can be healthy and not have an itchy butt with hemorrhoids coming out of it all the time, because that's really, really, really uncomfortable. So I have learned how to get completely neutral with food and how to create the excitement that food usually brings us through other outlets. Mostly meditation, exercise, being in awe of my body, that it can move well and that I don't have chronic pain and tension, and that I could do a lot of the exercises that I only dreamed about, that, all these things. Like I really look to finding a gratitude and appreciation for myself and my body to help me create an internal state of euphoria that maybe a glass of wine would bring me, or sushi would bring me. Like I've had to figure out how to get an emotional charge outside of eating. And so it's taken a lot of work. I don't know, I don't know how willing I would have been to make these changes had I not had severe physical reactions to my favorite foods. Because I'm like, I really wish I could eat the spicy tuna on crispy rice. Oh, so good. Okay, so that's a little bit of context. So you can have, a little bit of a picture when you hear this advice. This advice is probably stuff that you have heard before. So before we jump into the 4 topics, what I want to say also is that I had a pivotal moment in my awareness in 2008 when I was going through nervous system and joint mobility certification. I spent a year learning how the joints, how the nerves innervate the muscles, and how we have nerve clusters at the joints. And if we move the joints, we have a better signal to the system. You have a greater mind-body connection with the nervous system, and then how the bones and the joints and the muscles are functioning. And within that, it was all about reducing threat. And one of the things that they would talk about with threat, and you're going to love this, especially because everybody's talking about nervous system regulation these days, is that everybody can do the splits under anesthesia because the conscious mind is out. You're unconscious. And so there is no threat. There's no feeling of threat to the body. The body just lays there and the surgeon does its thing, right? You can like pull the leg all the way up, the hamstrings totally relax, the hip flexors relax, the glutes relax. Anybody can do the splits under anesthesia. And so the point of that is that it takes the person's individual nervous system, their point of consciousness, to interpret something as a threat, for the body to then go into the physiological stress response, which when the body is under threat, when the mind is perceiving that the body is about to be attacked, the shoulders shrug. And if you do that with me right now, you can feel the back of your skull, right? So that bottom of your skull, the occiput, when the shoulders come up, it makes like a perfect little armadillo puzzle piece so that your head doesn't get chopped off. Or a lion can't bite your neck and drag you away. You're preventing that from happening. So that's why when we get stressed, we have the shoulders going up and we have a lot of neck tension. So when we look at the body and we look at what stress is doing and what the interpretation of our consciousness is doing, it's so important to have these little tidbits of information to really expand our awareness, to understand why we're sabotaging. Because your sabotage isn't your fault, but it is your responsibility. And you're listening to this because you want to hear how to change that. The other thing in those nervous system classes, so that was kind of like the overall vibe. It was like, how do you work with the nervous system and the physical body? How do you understand what is threat? How do you reduce threat so that the body can get into a state of ease and then be in that upper 1% because you're tapped into the nervous system, not just lifting weights or not just doing yoga or Pilates. Now, within that certification that I told you about that I spent a year doing is we had this conversation about food, and it was a kinesiology-based chiropractor who owned this company and who did a lot of the teachings. And he said that, that there's only two diets. There's only two diets. One is for performance and one is for fat loss. And then every other type of doing those things is like a pyramid underneath it, but it's under those two topics. So a diet for performance is, you can think of somebody who is an Okay, let's get rid of the watch because it keeps going off. Okay. So the diet for performance, if you're thinking about an athlete, this is someone who's going to have to eat probably a lot of calories, probably a lot of protein, probably a lot of carbs so that they can sustain their physical activity. I too am on a diet for performance. Only my performance is to have my intestines running properly and not having them come out my butthole. So we have a diet for performance that is going to give us our health, so an anti-inflammatory diet, or is going to enhance our athletic capability. Then the second diet is a diet for fat loss, which means that we are in a calorie deficit because we want to lose fat. So there's only two types of diets. And then within that, people have found ways that it works for them based on their culture, based on their blood type, based on like all of these things that just make us unique individuals, right? So before this certification that I did was in 2008. So this is before Instagram. This is before people would argue online about what the diet was. Well, actually, we were arguing in forums. We weren't arguing on social media on people's posts. We were trolling people in our certification forums. So what I would think about this for my clients, because then this led into me working more with people in a brick and mortar situation where it was in-person training. It was like, look, you go down in a bookstore and you go to the diet aisle. Basically, all of these books are ways that people were eating one of these two diets that made sense for their body. They got the results. It worked for them. They wrote a book to share the information so that if it resonated with someone, it was going to help that person too. So we don't have to get into like splitting hairs about what's the right way, what's the wrong way. People are just sharing information of what worked for them, and then everybody else gets their feelings hurt if it doesn't resonate with them. It's like, grow up, stop having your inner child run the show. So within this context of only having two diets, so then we get to choose how we're going to do that. That's kind of where I want you to like start to really sink into this conversation, because for me, I just wrote today to describe this podcast episode, conscious eating. And I don't know if anybody else says that. I'm not trying to make a trend. I'm trying to put into words what I mean. I would really love you and my clients to do. Get conscious of what you are eating. I don't care if you track macros. I don't care if you do keto. I don't care if you do the Whole30. I want you to be conscious of what you're eating, why you're eating it, how you're feeling while you're eating it, and what you're doing when you eat it. Because those are all things that we can be so blind to. And I'm just like laughing in my head right now because I'm thinking back to when I was in my Pilates classes where we would do these like weekend long intensives. We would work out with Ron Fletcher, who he learned from Joe and Clara Pilates. And we had done a day-long class, and I went to one of the girls' hotel room. So we're all hanging out, and I was overweight. I had like a really much higher fat to muscle ratio. And I talked about it. I don't remember what I said, but I know I talked about it because when we got back to the hotel room and I was showing them the garments that I had made, because at the time I was manufacturing Pilates equipment and Pilates exercise clothes, I was showing them the swag. And as I was showing them, I grabbed a chocolate bar and I just started like eating bites of it while I was showing them this stuff and while I was talking. And one of the ladies said like, hey, like you talked about how you want to lose weight, but like, do you notice that you just ate half a chocolate bar? And I didn't. So noticing what we're doing while we're eating is so important, because it just might be like something that's automatic, where in our brain, like to have like an 8-hour Pilates class that you have an hour in between that 8 hours of movement to eat. So like you work out for 4 hours, maybe you have some pee breaks every 2 hours, then you have your lunch break, then you go in for another 2 hours, you get another pee break, and then you go for another 2 hours, and then you have to drive over to your hotel, like all that kind of stuff. Like when you're moving that long in your body and you're memorizing choreography, you want to eat, right? Like you want to get some sustenance back in your body. So I'm sure that there are times that you have had a really long day, and in your brain, when you get home, or if you're working from home and you leave your home office and you go into your regular living area, to your brain, that means relax, restore. And so you may just be grabbing stuff that is like so high calorie, and there is no way that you need that much energy. So then the energy just gets stored in your body. That's what I want you to think about when you think about conscious eating. And you want to think about how you're feeling, because when you're feeling that, you know, like when we go into this inferiority and superiority complex with food, if we're feeling inferior, that's when we're feeling sad and we're using that food to soothe us. When we're feeling superior, it's usually when something pisses us off in another area of life. And then we look at the thing that is restricting us, right? Like if we're on a diet, that means that we can't go get our drinks, we can't go get our tacos, we can't go get all of these things on a regular basis, right? Not like you can't have them ever, but on a regular basis, because you're pissed off in one area of life, but you're restricted in this area, you get all like a rooster, and then you're like, fuck diet culture, fuck body shaming. People need to love me for who I am. I love my cellulite. I can eat this. I deserve this. I had a really hard day. And we have a superiority complex with food, and then we start stuffing our face. And then if you have both of the energetics in your system, like I had, where it was like, you don't feel enough, so then you or you feel like, well, okay, so we go and we eat because we feel like we have to like have power over the food. And because we also have, I'm not good enough, I'm a disappointment, I, need to be, in a certain way, then we feel bad after that high comes down, that superiority high comes down. And then we think back to what we ate and then we feel bad. And then we feel like we need to restrict ourselves. We feel like we need to punish ourselves. And so it's this terrible, vicious cycle when especially you have the too much feelings that you have to suppress who you are. And you also have the not enough feelings where you feel like you have to inflate who you are and do more just for that validation. So it's a really slippery slope when we are using our diet for our inferiority and superiority complexes that are really coming from the inner child. And that inner child is just our representation for what the patterns are and what the subconscious has been programmed to spit out as your reality. So we really want to be aware of these things. How are we feeling? What triggered us? What are we doing? How are we eating? Are we scarfing it down? Are we like standing in the kitchen? Did we actually like sit out a meal and like sit down and eat? Or are we eating while we're working? Like, what is the vibe while you're eating your food? Because that's really going to play a huge role in how it is being active in your body, what it's doing to you. The second thing we want to talk about is some of these habits. So points 2, 3, and 4, we're going to go pretty quickly through these of what to actually do. So this is what I have found has worked really well for me. Okay. So we are back on a calorie deficit where I'm not doing a reverse diet. Last year from like March, April, May, June, I did a reverse diet. And so that meant that I stabilized my metabolism. So I was eating the same amount of food for a couple of weeks. And then I started adding 50 to 100 calories each week so that I could build up to then have a 500 calorie deficit and then build myself back up to being in a leaner body with still being able to eat a considerable amount of food. So after that, I just kind of like wiggled around, pretty much maintained. I've been up and down by like 5 pounds since then. And I decided that we're going to go into a cut. I'm going to go into a cut again. And this time, since my training partner has been a bodybuilder for 40 years, I'm going to let him coach me through this process where there's not a big cut, there's not a reverse diet. We're going to take things really slow in increments. And I'm like, okay, like I'll try this out for sure. So I have stopped measuring my food. I don't use my Fitness Pal. I have a pretty good eyeball measurement of what it is that I'm consuming. And I can sense if I ate too much or not enough of something. I can listen to those cues in my body. I can notice it in my sleep. I can notice it in my energy levels. So what I have decided to do, which I'm going to share with you, is easy habits to get yourself kind of in a position where you can feel your body, and to where, like, if you do want to lose weight, if you do want to have a body composition change, this is going to give you a body composition change without a lot of effort. So point number 2, it's like the intro to point number 2, is to have a protein/meal replacement shake in the morning. So I started implementing this about a week ago, and I take a lot of supplements too. And I usually can take supplements on an empty stomach, but the supplements that I've been taking really irritated my stomach. And so I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to have to have something in my stomach if I'm going to start my morning with my regular supplement routine, not wait for my first meal being my post-workout meal. So I have a meal replacement shake in the morning, and I put liquid vitamins in it from Isogenics. I put an ounce of Cleanse for Life. Not like you need these products, and there's no link to buy them. I'm not a distributor. I use the Cleanse for Life, 1 ounce of that liquid, and then an ounce of Ionic Supreme, because those are a bunch of micronutrients in the liquid form. So I dump those into my water. I put in the meal replacement shake, and I put in collagen also to have pretty hair, skin, and nails. The protein in that, don't count that as your protein because it's only a partial protein. It's for hair, skin, and nails. It's not going to build muscle for you. So I have that in the morning. I take my supplements, I drink my coffee, I go to my workout. And then when I'm done with my workout, I have a scoop of protein with cream of rice or cream of wheat or cream of rice, cream of grits. I don't use oats. Oats irritate my stomach, so I never have oatmeal. And that's what I eat. It's pretty simple. I have half a packet of peanut butter after almond butter with that cereal for my post-workout meal. But my first meal is just a protein shake, is just a meal replacement shake. So that would be a really great place to start, just to get yourself some really good nutrients first thing in the morning. And you could do a meal replacement shake. You could do just straight protein, just whey, just depending on what it is that you want, because I have 2 of these a day. So if I have a meal replacement shake in the morning, that usually means in the evening, I just have protein, or vice versa. And in the evening, I do protein. I shouldn't be so specific in the evening because I just had this a couple hours ago, but I had a protein shake with fiber in it. And so Melaleuca, again, I am not a distributor. It's just products that we have. Melaleuca has this product called FiberWise, and it has like 7 different types of fiber. And I really love it. It tastes really good. It doesn't gel up as quickly as straight psyllium. And so I dump that in with just protein and water. And that is really filling. It gives me the protein. It gives me the fiber, because if you listen to what I eat, I don't eat green leafy vegetables. The most vegetables I eat, you're going to die, is mushroom, onion, and zucchini and squash. Like any type of squash I can eat, mushroom and onion. I'm like done with bell peppers. I don't think I could eat another bell pepper another day in my life. I think I tapped out on those. But that's so I got to make sure I get my fiber in. And then hydrate. Duh, drink your water. And the easy way that I get my water in is I have a full gallon. I have alkaline drops. So I put 20 drops to make the water a little bit more alkaline. That's less. 20 drops is less than what's prescribed for that many ounces of water. But what I noticed is that the water tastes kind of fishy if you put in the amount that they say to fully alkalize the water. And I'm like, not going to drink fish water all day. No, thank you. So I put in those 20 drops because I test my biofeedback is that yes, I should have alkaline water. And so when we have these meal replacement shake or just protein in the morning, a meal replacement shake or protein in the evening or the afternoon, and we make sure that we're staying hydrated, it's going to be very, not necessarily easy because it depends on how much sabotage energy you still have in your system, but it's going to make the process a little bit easier to manage. All of the hard skills of diet, exercise, hydration, and rest are all easy. They're all simple. What makes them hard is that we have built a reality around us based on that 0 to 7 programming or any unconscious programming that we have received. So if you zone out on Netflix, if you zone out on the news, you are being unconsciously programmed. And so the information that is coming into your subconscious mind is like computing, oh, this is how life is. Here we go. And it projects it, it prints it out, it attracts things to you, it creates your reality. So it's hard to make diet, the exercise, the rest, and the hydration a priority because your life is not supporting that. And so that's where things get difficult. And so the more you can become aware of how you're eating, what you're eating, how you're feeling when you're eating, what you were dealing with before you were eating, the more aware you get of that stuff, the implementation of the hard skills is going to be so much easier. And if you just do these little things of having a meal replacement shake or a protein shake in the morning, a meal replacement shake or a protein shake in the evening or the afternoon, and stay hydrated, it's going to make you so much more aware of what your body requires and what cravings it's having. Because the cravings, like if you look up craving chocolate, it may show you what vegetables and micronutrients and minerals your body is actually wanting. Then you can start to really differentiate between what does my body need for fuel? What is my energy craving to feel better and self-medicate? You really get to see the differences in what those two urges are. If it's an emotional urge or if it's a chemical urge that your body's actually requiring something. So that is your podcast episode today. I'm like really excited to share with you energetic stuff and practical stuff in this podcast, and wanted to invite you to the January masterclass. So January 26, 27, 28. It's a Thursday, Friday, Saturday is our very first masterclass of the year. If you go to bodyenergetics.com/finally, you will get onto the email list where if you go onto the email, you get to join me on the Zoom instead of just participating in the live stream in the Facebook group. You'll get email notifications about the schedule. And then also you get entered into a giveaway, and you also get a tease graphic to share on your stories to invite your friends. Now, how I am doing this masterclass is it is going to be free in my Facebook community. Facebook.com/group/bodyenergetics. That's my free meditation group. There's meditations in there. They're so good. I live stream the podcast recordings into the group, and the 3-day masterclass will be free in that group for a certain amount of time. I'm not sure how long, like if I'm going to leave it up until the February masterclass or what, but it's going to be free for a certain amount of time, so you have access to it. Then I'm going to take it down and package it up and make really awesome PDFs for homework assignments, and then sell it later so you have lifetime access. So that's how we're doing it. So it's free. And then if you want it forever, then you would go ahead and make that purchase, and you would get it nice and formally, all wrapped up and edited and like ready to go for your inner work. If you want to join the Queen's Gambit, you get lifetime access to everything that I'm doing this year, my masterclasses and my programs. And so the Queen's Gambit is my 12-month transformation program where you're going to learn the hard skills and the soft skills to get your health back and manifest your dream body. So I'll be with you every week. We have live hot seat coaching. You have this, right now it's at 25 pages, the Queen's Gambit 12-month action plan, where I'm going to give you all the tools that you need of how to actually transform your body. So you can have it, you can print it. It has links to different things. And then that way you really have like a 12-month solid plan to say, I want my health back. I know this sabotage is not my fault, but I am ready to take responsibility for it. I'm going to do the inner work. I'm going to learn the hard skills, and I'm going to develop the soft skills of courage and bravery and self-confidence and self-responsibility and accountability. So it's going to be really fun. I have paid in full links, and I also have a monthly subscription plan, and we do have a buyer and seller protection agreement so that we feel really comfortable investing in each other. You can learn more about this if you go to my Instagram at It's Lauren Saracione. It's the very first post. It says, hi, start here. You can also find that on my Facebook page, facebook.com/Lauren Saracione Body Energetics. And you can read more about it there as well. Thank you so much for being here. I cannot wait to share with you, my fempreneur friends. You are going to love the conversations we have. Let me know if this episode landed for you. And if it did, please share it on the social medias and tag me. It's Lauren Saracione, and both queen.bold.eq on Instagram. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. If you found it helpful, please share it on social media and tag me. at It's Lauren Saracione and at Queen Bold EQ. You can just search my name, Lauren Saracione, on the IG, and you should find both of those handles, no problem. I'm going to leave you with a few little snippets of the ladies who were in the very first Queen's Gambit with me. The Queen's Gambit is my year-long transformation where I give you all the coaching you need for mindset, emotions, habits, diet, exercise, and self-care.
First of all, thank you for just giving of yourself and allowing us to be in this space today. That's been really amazing to just see like how much you're giving to us. So thank you for that.
Because I'm not gonna go shame myself anymore. I'm not gonna go fucking judge myself. I'm fucking over it. I'm so fucking done with that old game. It's just an old game. I'm not gonna play anymore.
Adding upper body has actually been really good. I enjoy it because I've always been so scared of it.
The energetic stuff like has been really great for me because I think that's like what my like soul was craving. Like I've been wanting to know more, but like where do I start? So this has been super great.
New identity, new person, new body.
And it was like, I could never get past certain plateaus, but this makes so much sense.
Exercises go really well. It's so much fun to have finally a gym.
I remember because it was so significant to me. That was after COVID. It was really difficult for me to go back because I had gained weight. I felt really heavy after having been lighter and through COVID and not working out. That day was really nice because you like encouraged me to like continue. When you told me, you're like, you're strong, sweetie, like you can go heavy, and I was like, really? That like helped me just kind of develop that confidence.
And I'm like, well, I'm gonna take responsibility for the mistake, but I'm not gonna like shaming or blaming or judging. It's not gonna help me take the responsibility. It just makes it like harder. So why the F should I like make it hard for yourself? Come on.